going on, guys? So today we have Jimmy coming over from Montasy Sports. Sharon recently purchased a one-of-one Superfractor Roger Federer card through the shop, so we're really excited to have him over. He's been a shop owner in New York City for quite some time. So this is Sharon, owner of BlackJadedWolf, and this is our office.
Hello everyone, welcome to BlackJadedWolf. I'm gonna let you introduce a little yourself. So,
just a quick background. I've been sort of in this sports card collectible hobby business for about 20-30 years at the very least, if I remember correctly. I got into it as a collector who was opening boxes and all that and so forth. And then after a while I started doing shows, sort of for fun, but then at the same time it's the excitement of getting the cards you want, and then at the same time able to pick up stuff on the show as well as sell some stuff and talk to other people. And I stopped for a while.
I think you kind of left and I got in, so we kind of never really crossed paths. I mean, exactly. We have, but not like when you were doing show and then,
exactly.
I got in after.
Exactly.
So.
I mean, what generally happens, and that's how I remember Sharon was, okay, I had gotten out. I thought, I should focus on my career or whichever. And then I'll still go to the show every once in a while. And it's, it's funny. And I think that's when I remember seeing Sharon. I was like, wow, she's pretty knowledgeable. And generally you're with, I remember the time that I see was when Steve was with you. Like, just opening boxes or going over singles. So it was pretty neat, pretty neat. And then I think a few years later I had an opportunity where, I'm a silent partner of a shop and all that and so forth. So I got to see sort of the other side even more. And then about 10 years ago, give or take, I decided to say, you know what?
Full time?
Yeah, let's do this. Let's take it seriously, especially we're opening up shop in Manhattan. Let's really do something about it and pay closer attention to it. And at that time, we really weren't focusing on sports.
Oh, okay. Right,
because sports, if you recall, about 9+ years ago, that wasn't. Like sports boxes, everything isn't anything crazy.
I think you were specializing in like a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Right?
Like,
I remember your store holds a lot of tournaments before.
Yep. Trading card games, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, and all that and so forth. I mean, we have some comics, but it's really, we have comics out there. We sell, new, older comics, etc. But predominantly when we started in Manhattan, it was really just trading cards. And then we said, you know what, we're going to focus on sports a little bit and start off with like a little shelf. Yeah. And then as years go by, it became bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And
I think it evolved. Like you said, during your store when it was open in Manhattan, I think, comics, Marvel, all those movies. So those were hot. I remember Comic-Con, So now it's not that those cooled down. It's just that now sports card, it's been there for years. But now sports card is coming to forefront because of how the cards are ending at. The prices it's getting, golden auctions getting in there. Obviously eBay, which started the craziness, So what's your take on that?
I think, speaking of eBay, I think eBay is actually pretty, it's pretty interesting. It's a double-edged sword, right? It started out where, in the old days, if you were kind of thinking about a particular card that you think it'll go up and all that and so forth, you have the opportunity, like, sort of like the first mover advantage, right? You could buy the cards, or you could buy the boxes, etc. But then with eBay, everybody could put everything up, and everybody could bid on something that potentially is hot. So as a result, that kind of changed the whole dynamic. And more and more people are able to look in their closets and say, hey, wow, I have this. It's worth something. All right, let me put it up. And that's where you fast forward to the pandemic, right? In addition to, golden auction, in addition to eBay and all that and so forth, you now have a lot of people that look at their cards from the 90s, where they stopped. And then what was once considered, it's overproduced, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now people are excited
yeah.
about it. And they realize, wait a second, if I bought whether it's a Jordan rookie, or if I have even any of the Fleer 86 sets, right?
Rare inserts too, like the 90s. It was considered a dead era at that time.
Exactly. And now it's like they're looking at it going, wow, I didn't look at it. But now it's like 10 times. Or at least double.
Yeah.
You know,
some of them.
Some of them it's a lot more.
Well,
right?
that's where PSA comes in too.
Exactly.
So that's actually why we cross path again.
Yep.
I mean, we kind of known each other. I know your store, you know, but Jimmy, a couple of months ago, started submitting a few PSA, you know, for himself and for his customers. So we kind of got in touch and we talk. Every time he comes here, we have like hours of talk.
Yeah, instead of picking up like, oh, there are my cards, great, I got a Kobe PSA 10, or, oh, this one didn't go as well as I thought it was. Then it became like, you know, conversation about the industry, about what's going on and all that and so forth.
And I used to pick his brain about, you know, obviously we opened this PSA kind of like center, pickup, you know, drop-off center. But, you know, we have some inventory here, too. No wax. He specializes in that, so that's good. But basically, so, you know, he brought some today, some of the hot product. And I think it's hot because it's double the quarterback last year and this next year's draft, you know. So we're going to open that maybe if we have time. But also we talk about maybe one of the card that... it's linked between me and you and one of our, one of your customer and friend, one
Jeff
of my
Smarts,
friend, you know, Jeff. So we'll talk about that a little. Okay, so tell me the backstory of the tennis transcendent tops that you got.
Yeah, it was
during pandemic, I think.
It was during pandemic. It was actually middle towards the end of the year, and this is what I consider also. You know, I mean, I look at the hobby as you have investors, collectors, and more so investors nowadays, right? Collectors, flippers, etc. But what I find also exciting is looking at the trend to see what's happening, right? And we're beginning to see that how certain sports, you know, it is the perfect rising tide, lift all boats, right? Certain sports have sort of raced ahead, and then people are beginning to look at, wait a second, what about soccer? What about
wrestling?
Right? And hockey. Now, hockey this year has been pretty strong as well. And so at that time, but more specifically, I was thinking, oh, you know what? Tennis is pretty cool. It's an underrated sport, and I think tops, for the first time, they're doing what's called the transcendent tennis. There weren't that many around, and unfortunately, but fortunately for us, when it started out, it was not popular at all because it was right around the pandemic. People weren't sure what's going to happen. They weren't sure how the invitation's going to go. So I was like, you know what? You know, I want to buy it. I'm a tennis fan. I play tennis when I was younger.
Too.
Exactly. When I was younger. Definitely not now. I would get injured, I think, just running across the court.
I've been a tennis fan, and I've actually have like some... I collect female autographs of anything. So I have Serena's, you know.
Oh, that's great.
So it's like... So when you told me you have that case before it even opened, you know... So continue.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking about either. Well, I know that eventually we have to open it because there's the invitation and all that and so forth.
You weren't planning on selling it.
I wasn't really planning on selling it
without opening it. Like
I mean, I wasn't. I was really, you know, from a wax standpoint, I focus on, you know, whether it's buy something, let's hold on to it, see what the appreciation is going to go. I haven't really spent so much time looking at it in terms of how it's going to appreciate. It's in the past. It's sort of like, okay, let's look at this and then move on, right?
Yep.
But during the pandemic, with the rise of basketball and all that and so forth, I sort of took the position as, okay, what other areas we could get ahead if possible, right? So tennis came along.
The perfect story too is Osaka got hot. I think that kind of moved it a little, you know.
Exactly, and unfortunately, I picked it up beforehand, right? So Jeff and I were Jeff was like, oh, I may be interested in buying Transcendent, and we thought that all the signatures in there originally. I'm like, all right, I bought it. I'm putting it aside.
It's like a no-brainer if that's the case, right?
I'm like, oh, you have Federer, you have you know, Hingis, you have Navratilova,
tons of Hall of Famer. Agassi in there too, I think.
Exactly, Steffi Graf is in there too, right?
Oh wow, yeah, she doesn't have a lot of auto.
Exactly, so we're like, you know, I'll hold on to it. Worst case, you know, I'm just hold on to it. I think tennis is going to be pretty good. There aren't that many mainstream tennis stuff.
Yep.
And then Jeff goes, you know, I did a research. It's not guaranteed that you're going to get a Federer or Osaka. And so I was like, it's okay.
Yeah.
So he wasn't sure either, right? Fast forward to like last week or the week before, he was like, Jimmy, I think I am interested in that because, with the price and everything. So I went, okay, let me take a quick look. And then we're like, okay, you know what? The case have gone up a lot. But you know what? What we'll do is, all I care about is the base set.
Okay.
And I'll be honest, the base set just with Osaka it's gone up a bit more. And since you like,
I think it's almost half the cost of the the set now, right?
Yeah, of the retail, that set itself. But then I looked at it in terms of the autograph potential. I was like, you know what? Then autograph potential with the invitation and all that and so forth, we'll give you an X price.
Nice.
Hopefully, still fair enough. He was comfortable with it.
Well, Jeff was excited about the invitation too, because he's a big tennis fan, and he still plays too, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he was the first thing he told me was,
and I think the invitation was for Hall of Fame.
Yep,
event,
for
right?
Hall of Fame, and
nice.
I think he was recently up. I think in Rhode Island. I think that's where it is, and it was a nice area, so he thought he was going to be there.
Okay.
And it was pretty cool. We just came to an agreement. We said, you know what, you take all the autographs. Whatever comes out is perfectly fine.
Nice.
And you also have the invitation. So, and then we just decided, I think last week, just say, you know what, let's open it.
Yeah.
Let's open it. It's fun. Go through it, and it brought back a lot of memories as you're going through all the players. But what Jeff did was he was like, okay, let's get the superfractor out of the way.
I'm like,
right?
Who starts with a superfractor? It's always like you want end in a bang,
Exactly.
But,
He's like, let's get the superfractor. Let's get all the 101, like the card out of the way, the cut signature. So I was like, okay, And as soon as he flipped it, he looked at me, and it's almost like when he pulled the roof. He pulled the roof from I think Luminaries a few years, about 3 or 4 years back.
Yeah, he told me that story too.
And he looked at me. He was like, "I think it's Federer." Now, keep in mind, at that time, all we see is the top.
Oh, well, it's somebody with a cup.
Exactly, with the cup and the hair, and he's like, "I think it's Federer." Okay. I was like, "Really?" And then we started sliding down, and I see the face, and we're like, "Yes, it's Federer." And it's almost like
let's show the public. So this is the card. So it's a beauty. So I think Jimmy texted me that night with a picture, and I was like, I told Siobhan I gotta have the card. I have usually a pretty good poker face, and then Jimmy posted it. I think the next day when he finally got the card.
I posted like a group. Because the case was amazing. Yeah,
in Instagram, and all I said was, I need to own that card. So, and I told Jeff, I gotta buy it, and then I promise I put it away for a while. It won't be listed in Golden or anywhere anytime soon. So, well, that also brings me back to, so years ago, I consider myself as a broker in this hobby.
Yep.
I don't really buy to invest and stuff like that, I flip, and then there's certain cards I keep, but it's very rare. So the past few years, I got a little older in this business, so I invested on a few cards. I do have, and this one is more like a PC invest, type of thing. I don't mind keeping it. Even if I leave the hobby, I don't mind having this card, So I have a few cards like this, basically. So it's an honor for me to have it, knowing it came from your store and from Jeff.
Yep.
And I'm excited about that.
Yeah, this is definitely a nice card.
Yeah.
You're saying?
So, how did the pandemic, in your opinion, affect being a card owner of a store?
I think it really depends. Right? New York City it's a bit of a challenge, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of people coming in, we have to constantly manage, and we're in Midtown, right? So it's not as if you.
Well, hold a second, time out. Where's your location? Just
we're on 5th Avenue between 38th and 39th Street.
Yeah. Easy access, trains, bus, whatever you want, it's there.
Right about 3 blocks away from Bryant Park.
Oh, okay.
So, but then people get confused. Either they think that we're either Midtown Comics, which is nowhere
totally
near that. What is this?
Different.
Recently, there was a confusion because there was a Japanese manga store, Japanese bookstore actually, across from Bryant Park, and it's Kinokuniya, right? So it was one of those things where we are. First of all, you can't park there. right? So it's not as if we're in somewhere in Queens where there's alternate street side parking, or lower, downtown or on the west side, certain areas that allows parking on the side of the street. So I would say virtually we would be lucky, especially when you're talking about after we reopen. We'll be lucky if there's like 1 or 2 people in the store. Yeah. Now, while that's happening, the hobby's hopping. Because I think a lot of people are able to look online, see what everybody else is breaking. I mean, if you really think about it, opening boxes, unboxing, whether it's sports or trading cards or non-sports cards, have become like an entertainment. Yep. And then as an entertainment, people started looking at what's going on online in reference to eBay and all that and so forth. Then they see the price going up. And this obviously, has to do with the old economic theory of supply and demand. Yep. More people want to see certain boxes, certain high-value boxes. Then the demand goes up, the price goes up, and that creates a secondary challenge from a COVID standpoint. So I think because people are at home,
and there's no shows.
No shows. Yep, absolutely. You're looking at no shows. People can't go.
And I think
cards.
shows is such a big difference. People want to go there to see cards, but now they have all this time at home and just be in the computer,
Exactly. So I mean, the prices have skyrocketed, and then that brought in more
Nobody's
people.
predicted.
Exactly, that brought in more people, and then now as we gradually reopen across the states, then you have people who are like, this is great investment. Now that brings another group of folks. I mean, now the investment part of it was always there. It just became more before pandemic, and then it really speeded up afterwards.
And I think it's broader now. It has like sneakerheads in there. It has a lot of the younger kids. I remember 15 years ago, Steve is like hides his collection.
That's true.
That's true. I mean, we won't say who Steve was, but it's hidden in the sink,
Yep, it's in the cupboard somewhere. It's in the desk drawer.
I have a customer that don't want to take picture when his picture be taken when he's in the show. Yep. And he doesn't want to be tagged, on any social media because, it wasn't cool to be collecting cards before. Yep. Now you could see like CEOs and, athletes who's holding their own cards or investing on different cards. Yeah.
And some athletes keep their own cards, like Giannis have a couple of signed.
A lot.
Yep, exactly.
Apparently, LeBron has his own exquisite too.
Yeah, he was like he has 2 of those.
Yeah,
so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
By the way, Giannis, I'm still waiting for my redemption card back.
I think I bought a redemption too yesterday. So I think it's different, and now a lot of athletes are investing too. Yep. Now there's like investing firm for sports cards. Yep. Which is, it's totally changed the game, and with Bitcoin and all.
In the office, this is a card, 1 of 1, Roger Federer at a Topps Transcendent.
So shows, the hope is as the city or
reopens,
the U.S. reopens, then there are more and more shows coming up where people could interact and then just talk about the cards that they have or talk about the cards they've acquired online.
So with talking about shows within that topic, I am going back to a lot of shows starting May because I think certain states are already open, but New York is a little slower in opening. New Jersey is a little slow in opening. Not all our hotels are open yet, So, but I am traveling next month, but I also been talking to Jimmy about this. But I'll let him continue because he has done tournaments, so he has experience about hosting shows, hosting events. So this is a project we're considering, and it could be on the works for the next month or 2, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to. It's one of the things that we always thought about it is that in the city, I never understood why we weren't able to get a reasonable show. Like, it doesn't say that any previous shows is not good, because I remember in the heydays you have 1 or 2 shows in the city, it was in the schools and all that and so forth. But it's almost like, well, why couldn't there be a show where it's in a hotel, where there's a lot of people and all that and so forth? And speaking of shows, I mean, I actually did try to do a show in the store like 4 years ago.
Yes, I remember.
I mean, obviously, it wasn't. It was one of those things where I was just playing around with the idea. And then I realized the amount of work, the amount of arrangements and everything that needs to go into it. And we've done a lot of like tournaments from a trading card game standpoint, including some of the larger ones. So Shannon and I got to talk, and we're like, New York should try to have one. So we're trying to see if we could collaborate and work on finding a show, preferably in a larger location. We're not not necessarily looking at crazy number of dealers,
it's more like local, and
exactly.
It's good to have and the new thing about too, since the pandemic, is a lot of local shows. It's not just one big show every weekend now. It's there's some shows in the West Coast, some show in the East Coast. So we're talking more like a New York show. I think it's well deserved. A smaller New York show. Dealer maybe from New Jersey, New York.
And what's great
Whoa! Look at that! Justin Herbert red!
All right, we're done. There we go.
Okay, Chewy also smiling in the background. And he's our director, so,
Yep.
Okay, look at that. Well, I'll hand it to Chewy.
Yep, let's not drop.
Okay. And silver, Ben DiNucci, another quarterback, but doesn't get a lot of attention.
Yep, Dallas. Hopefully there's a lot of people.
Come on, Jimmy, help me out a little.
I stopped opening as soon as I heard just Sean Vaughn silver.
Okay. So that was good. We got our Herbert Hebees. So, well, what do you want to plug again for your store again? Where is it? And where can we follow you in social media?
Oh, you can just follow us on Montasy NYC. And again, we're located on 5th Avenue between 38th and 39th. If you look at it, we do pretty much most of the stuff. We do specialize in wax.
Yep. We have good prices. And
it's
it's fair. That's all. In this market, it changes every week if the product is hot. So we expect that. I mean, and they also have some variety of stuff. Funko Pop,
our
stuff
Pops
like
is
that.
pretty popular.
I got my Luca Funko there, So, yes, thank you for coming by today.
Thanks for
I appreciate you. And I know you're very busy today.